Well, good morning. Welcome to another Public File. We have a very interesting guest in the studio today. I just met her. Her name is Sarah Barbulesco. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning.
You are, for lack of a better term, you're a filmmaker.
I am a filmmaker, an independent filmmaker in the Sacramento area.
And I take it you've done other projects?
I have. I've been working on film for, a long time, over 15 years.
Really? How'd you get into the film business, if you will?
Actually, when I was in high school, a friend of mine wanted to create a film, and she asked me if I would help her with it. And I was a writer before. I had been planning on being a novelist, actually.
Yeah.
And after I had that one taste of film, I knew that this was what I really wanted to do because it was such an amazing thing to see the characters and the stories that I had created brought to life on the screen. So that's kind of where my inspiration came from. And then I was lucky enough to be at UC Davis at a time that they had a television station actually at the school. So I got a lot of my formal training there with the television station as well as the film major.
I want to dig in here. For one, who is Isabel?
Isabel is a fictional character, but the story of Remember Isabel follows many events that are based on my own family's experience with Alzheimer's. My grandmother had Alzheimer's, and my grandfather was the caregiver for her. And so he was my main inspiration for creating this film. I really wanted to represent the humanity that he brought to his caregiving for my grandmother. And also, I felt after going through my experience, I don't think I could have written this film when I was in the thick of it and actually having my grandmother go through it. But once I had enough time to have separation from what happened with my family and reflect on that, I felt it was really important that there were films out there that gave people a taste of what Alzheimer's is really like, allow them to understand what the warning signs are and what the differences are between Alzheimer's and just, a couple of memory loss moments, and also allow them to see this family going through it so that they can maybe understand that they're not alone in their struggles of dealing with someone who has Alzheimer's, because these days we have more than 6 million Americans afflicted with Alzheimer's disease, and in only another 10 to 20 years, those people are going to be reaching epidemic levels. So it's really something I feel we need to address right now, and unfortunately something that a lot of people who are in my age range are pretty apathetic about because they feel like it's an older person's disease.
They feel immune to it.
Exactly. And we're not. Early onset Alzheimer's can start as early as in your 30s. And even if it is something that tends to strike more in the 50s than 60s, 70s, your risk goes up with age. That's definitely true. This is something we need to address right now, because if we don't address it now, it's just going to continue to get worse.
Are there progress being made in treating Alzheimer's? Any new developments?
Thankfully, yes. The Alzheimer's Association has done wonderful work with just getting awareness out there, like my film is doing, about Alzheimer's, as well as putting a lot of funding and a lot of good people towards the research. So they've been able to isolate the Alzheimer's gene. There's been a lot of new research coming up, as well as initiatives to try and get more funding for research. So I believe that with the assistance of the Alzheimer's Association, and hopefully my film will boost that as well, since we are working in conjunction with the Southland chapter of the Alzheimer's Association. We have both the president and the vice president of the California Southland chapter as executive producers for the film, so that we can hopefully, as a joint venture, make sure that Alzheimer's does see its end in our lifetimes.
That would be nice. My brother-in-law got Alzheimer's about 12 years ago. The initial signs started occurring when he was 42 or 3 years old.
Wow, that's very young.
Yeah, pretty young. Some early signs of it, and then it got worse and worse, and it's like his brain would not connect with the rest of his body for bodily functions and things, just eating, breathing, and sadly he passed away about a week ago at the age of 55.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, from Alzheimer's. So,
wow.
I can, relate, and I've seen my family go through it very recently. This is a very topical subject, obviously. What are some of the early warning signs to somebody who might be getting Alzheimer's?
Well, initially it seems like the regular things that we all tend to forget. You forget where you put your keys. You walk into a room and forget why you went in there. I mean, I know that happens to me all the time.
I was going to say, no, wait a minute. I have Alzheimer's.
So those are pretty common things that happen to all of us.
Right.
But usually your more critical signs that it might be Alzheimer's are repetitive memory loss, meaning that someone might, you come to their house and the person will offer you a drink, and then you say, no, I'm okay. And then 10 minutes later, they offer you a drink. And then 10 minutes later, they offer you the same thing. That can be a sign of Alzheimer's. It could also just be it could be dementia or another form of memory loss as well. But that sort of behavior is definitely a sign. And then, of course, as you progress further, the worst ones are when they actually start to forget who other people are around them, if they can't recognize the faces of other people, or they start confusing perhaps a spouse for a son or a daughter. Those are pretty strong signs that it's Alzheimer's.
Yeah, my brother-in-law didn't have those type of symptoms. Mm-hmm. His were more physical in nature. So it's weird. It's a weird disease.
It is very strange. And actually, the form that you're talking about is actually fairly rare, where it will actually attack the physical abilities, because usually it's just the mental abilities, but what you're talking about is the mental abilities that connect to the physical abilities breaking down. And that is less common. It's usually their physical health could be fine for years and years, which is actually really sad, because they could slip completely away mentally and still be physically healthy for maybe 10 years as this shell of a person. Which is why we always kind of say Alzheimer's is more a disease of the family and the friends than it is of the person who has it.
Right.
Because after a certain point, they don't know what's going on. But all of us who are around them have to see this person and remember what that person used to be able to be. And that's hard.
Yeah, how old was your grandmother when she passed away? And how old was she when she began showing symptoms?
She was in her late 60s.
Late
and then
60s.
She died in her early 70s.
Oh, wow.
So
see, that seems pretty young to me.
And she had a very fast progression, which it might sound weird to say, but I'm almost glad for, because it meant that she wasn't in that state of being totally gone for years and years, which I just think would have been very, very hard on my grandfather, as well as my father and his brother.
We're talking to Sarah Barbulesco. She's making a film called Remember Isabel, and it's spelled, by the way, ISOBEL. And you said that, where'd you get the name Isabel?
Isabel, actually, I didn't say that. Isabel comes from, it's another version of the name Elizabeth, which is actually my grandmother's name.
Okay, so kind of the name does relate to your grandmother.
It does.
And that's the inspiration for this movie. So tell us about this movie. I guess it says here, there was a theatrical version of this?
Correct. So originally I wrote this film as a movie, and it was going to be produced as a feature film, and I had always thought I wanted to do a play, but originally I was going to do it after the feature film release. And then I started meeting some people that I could put together a play with, and I thought it'd be a wonderful way to bring a lot of attention to the story. And what it gave me that I didn't even realize it would was being able to see that played on stage for 5 weeks. I got to see every weekend the reactions from the audience and kind of better understand my own story and how it was going to communicate to people when they saw it on the screen. Mm-hmm. So I rewrote it as a play script, and we went up on stage over at the Uli Theater here in Sacramento. We were up on stage in winter 2012-2013 in December and January. And then thereafter, I was able to rewrite the script based on the feedback that I received from the audience and create a better film script, I feel, for us to be able to actually bring that to the screen. So it's kind of great. Most people don't get an opportunity to sort of audience test their movie before they ever make it. And so that was a wonderful experience for me. And also during the playtime, I was able to be introduced to Elise Hodge, who I cast as the role of Helen, and she'll also be reprising that role in the film. She's the only one who's going to be carrying her role from the play and from the trailer into the actual feature film. Everybody else will be cast out of names in Hollywood. But Elise is very special because she has come on board as a producer for the film. She connected me to producer Chadwick Struck, who then brought on board all of our name executive producers, which are Donnie Most from Happy Days, if you know him.
I remember, I'm sure.
And Michael Barbulesco from The Practice. And we also have Alfred Molina from Spider-Man 2, as well as Ronnie Marmo from General Hospital. And Ronnie's actually going to be taking one of our smaller roles as the doctor in the film. So we're really excited about working with him. Wow,
you got some nice people involved in this project.
We do. We are very lucky. They're lending their names to us to hopefully bring more awareness to this so that we can gather the rest of the funding for the film and actually shoot it in summer 2014.
Sarah, explain to us, going to the subject real quickly here of film, what are the differences between a producer, and an executive producer and another executive producer. It seems like there's, 40 of these people on a big major film. What do they all do? What does that mean?
Well, a producer can be a variety of things, as you mentioned, but typically the producer is coming at the film from the angle of trying to figure out how to market it to people and how to get all the funding in order to bring it to fruition. So it depends on anywhere where the producer comes in the stage of the process and what specific type of producer they are, on whether or not they're working specifically on funding or visibility, promotion, distribution, all of those aspects. And then an executive producer actually usually comes on the project either specifically just to donate money to the film.
Right.
Or they can donate their names. For instance, with the names that I was just talking about, those are people who have given their names to us so that we can promote our film and hopefully bring more attention and more awareness to it so that we'll be able to fully fund the film.
And those are the people, they are executive producers.
Yes.
They've thrown in a few bucks and they want to get this thing off the ground.
Correct.
Like Alfred Molina, for example.
He's one of our executive producers who's been kind enough to lend his name to us, so we're very, very lucky.
He was great in Boogie Nights. Do you remember the scene in Boogie Nights?
Yeah, he's a wonderful actor, and we're so lucky to have these people who really believe in the cause. And there's so many people affected by Alzheimer's that it's almost difficult to run into someone who isn't connected to it in some way. So we've been very lucky to get a lot of wonderful support, and we look forward to getting more support as we go forward with our campaign right now.
Yeah, let's talk about that. How do you plan on getting more support, and in what way, and how would people go about that?
Well, right now we're running a campaign. It's an Indiegogo campaign, and you can get to it pretty easily by accessing our Facebook, if you're on Facebook, which is facebook.com/Remember Isabel. Again, Isabel is spelled ISOBEL. Mm-hmm. And you can also, if you're not someone who likes Facebook, you can access our online campaign through www.mim, that's M as in mother, so M as in mother, I, M as in mother, B as in boy, OLI, D as in dog, E.com, MIMBolide.com. And we're running that campaign right now in order to try to raise the rest of the funding that we need in order to produce the film. So that's running until April 1st. We've had a lot of good luck so far with people who have been starting to donate, and also people who, like you, who are helping us to promote it. So we're very, very grateful about that.
Well, since I'm helping you, can I get an executive producer credit or at least a producer credit?
I will definitely put a thank you out there for you.
No, I'm only kidding.
No, I will, actually. On the Facebook, you can, if you log onto our Facebook today, there will be a thank you for you for allowing me to come down here and chat with you. And I'm having a good time, so.
Let me ask you, if you don't mind me asking, what is your goal here, your financial goal? What's it take to make a film like this?
Well, our minimum goal in order to make this film happen is $100,000.
That's all.
However, we are hoping to get closer up to the $200,000 range, possibly even get to the $650,000 range for this film. But we're thinking it'll probably be more in the $100,000 to $200,000, which actually, as you say, that's all compared to Hollywood films is not very much money. But compared to an indie film, that's actually a lot of money for us to try and raise. Because typically indie films, you can try and shoot those, if you're really doing like guerrilla filmmaking and you don't have any names on board, you can shoot for under $20,000 and actually get a whole film done. But considering that we're trying to maintain very high production values, we would like to get some names on board that have shown interest in the film, but we can't release their attachment to it until we're fully funded. We would love to have those people work with us and create just a really beautiful film to represent this story of a family dealing with Alzheimer's. So in order to meet all of those, we have a bare minimum of getting up to that 100,000.
Well, I hope you reach the goals. The goal here is to educate people about Alzheimer's. And, you mentioned all these people jumping on board, Donnie Most and all these actors and stuff. Are these people that have experiences themselves, family events that have happened? Yeah,
actually, all of the people who have come on board, it has been because of some sort of relation to the project. Either they have a friend or a family member who is dealing with it or already has dealt with Alzheimer's, or they are a friend of a friend. Everybody who I've talked to who has come on board with this film and who has supported us really feels strongly that this cure needs to happen. We need to figure out how to end Alzheimer's. And so they believe very strongly in our film because of that. And we're really lucky that we have their support.
I talked to a lot of people on this show, doctors, nurses, and a lot of cancer doctors and stuff. And I always ask this question. The cancer doctors will say the same thing. Is real progress being made? And is it possible to really cure this disease? We kind of touched on this earlier. How close are we here?
the human brain is still such a mystery to us. And that's the unfortunate thing about approaching Alzheimer's, is that just as an organ in general, we still know so little about the brain and how memory works and all of that, that it's very difficult for us to tackle this problem. Is it solvable? I believe it is, especially since they feel that right now they're making a link to genetics. And, genetics are also extremely complicated, but being able to isolate that gene and understanding better the science behind what's going on with Alzheimer's, we are progressing. It is getting better. The treatments are getting better. And I'm very hopeful that we will find a cure.
Fantastic. Sarah Barbulesco is here. We're talking about her movie that she's got in the works called Remember, Isabel. Give us a little, just brief synopsis of how the movie is going to go chronologically and sort of what the movie is going to lay out like.
Well, the main story, of course, obviously follows Isabel's journey with Alzheimer's.
I'm assuming it's sort of a documentary-style film?
No, it's not. It's not a documentary. It is a feature film. It tells a story.
Okay.
And so we open with a family that is obviously very close, and it's 3 generations living in a house. We have the grandmother, Isabel, and her daughter, Kate, as well as Kate's wife, Helen, and their 2 kids, Patrick and Ryan. And so all 3 generations live in the house together. It's very clear from the beginning that Isabel has been the matriarch of the family, and still she's one of those older people that you just want to be around. She's full of energy and kind of sassy and fun, and she's an artist, and so she has all of these amazing personality traits that kind of allow her to direct and dominate with the family. And so everybody's used to her interacting in these ways. And then as she starts to deteriorate and they're noticing that these signs are coming up, I tried my best to have the different family members react in some of the different ways that people might to having a relative go through Alzheimer's. And that's not only within the nuclear family, but also Isabel has 2 sons who are Kate's brothers. And seeing how they react to it is also very important, because something I've observed, not so much in my family, but in my research with Alzheimer's, is that dealing with losing someone to Alzheimer's obviously is very hard, and not very many people can actually handle that. And so a lot of the time for the person who's a caregiver, the road of giving care is very lonely. And you'd think that people would come out of the woodwork to help you when something like this happens, but I think that friends and family members, they feel so awkward. They don't know how to interact with the person because they can't interact with the person who's afflicted in the same way that they used to. And it's scary and unfamiliar. And so because of that, there's a lot of people who just pull away and don't have any contact. Or, for instance, Kate's wife, Helen, she's used to providing for the family and working very hard for them. And that's the way that she shows her love. And so since she is so used to that role, she doesn't really know any other way to support Kate. And so she just starts working harder and harder and doing that more, when really what Kate needs is for her to be there for her and to actually assist with the care. And then with the brothers, each one of them kind of can't handle it through no fault of their own. And I think that that's something I really wanted to make clear, is it's not that they don't love their mother and don't want to be there. It's almost because they do love her so much that they can't see her like this.
Right. Right.
And so that was kind of what I wanted to show with the film. But it's not just a sad, depressing film the whole time. I mean, there's plenty of moments of levity. This is a real family. And so,
there's moments of celebration of life, obviously.
And anyone who's been through any sort of, serious health issue or, quote unquote tragedy moment in their lives knows that you can't go through it being depressed and being sad and like, oh, this really sucks all the time. You have to find those moments where you can laugh about it. You have to find those moments where you can still rejoice as a family. And our family on their journey has plenty of those. So it's definitely not a film where I was trying to just get people to the theater to make them cry.
Right.
I want them to see the experience of this family going through it and relate to them and have some fun along the way, but also be educated on what happens with Alzheimer's and really understand the impact of what it does to a family.
Now, this is going to be an important film. No matter what happens, no matter how it turns out, it's going to be an important film, but it might also end up being a really good film.
Thank you.
You may find yourself at the Sundance Festival, winning some kind of award or something like that.
Well, thank you. I really hope that it is widely seen. That is the most important thing to me, is that this film gets out to a large audience of people who hopefully will then be more aware of what's going on with Alzheimer's and then be motivated to make a change themselves and actually donate to the cause.
Just tangent question. If you had an unlimited budget, who are one or two major actors or actresses you would have in this film if you could afford them?
Oh, I don't think I should probably answer that question. My casting director and I would probably get in a bit of trouble there. But I definitely have some people in mind who actually have been talking to us about the film already because, you know, this is, I don't know, a good or a bad thing, but since there are so many celebrities who do have Alzheimer's in their families, there's quite a few who are willing to help out with that. So we've already been in conversations with some people who we're hoping will play some of the key roles in the film. But it just matters with us figuring out all the funding and the timing for the shooting this summer. Okay. Well, good luck with it. Now, the reason you're here and publicizing your movie is you're trying to get some additional funding to make the whole thing happen. Give out the information one more time, Sarah. So if anybody wants to get information, maybe help out, what do they do? Where do they go? So if you'd like to donate, and one thing I should have mentioned before is that all donations are tax deductible. We do have a nonprofit funding or a nonprofit fiscal sponsor called Fractured Atlas, and they're kind enough to give us their nonprofit status for our film. Okay. And so anybody who donates, this will help you with your 2014 taxes, and it's a great way to spend that money. So, and then the way that you can donate is by going to either www.facebook.com/rememberisabel, and that's ISOBEL. You can also visit my main website if you're not someone who's on Facebook, which is www.m as in mother, I, M as in mother, B as in boy, OL, I, D as in dog, .com. So that's MIMbolide.com. Both those ways, there's a link. It'll take you straight to our Indiegogo campaign, and you can donate any amount. $1, everything helps us. So, and there are actually a lot of fantastic perks on there that you can get for your donations. There are a couple of celebrity introductions as some of the perks you can get. You can meet Donnie Most. We are going to be bringing him up here for a dinner because he's been kind enough to offer that as one of our perks. Cool. So we have a lot of different things that can kind of give you something in return for giving to us, because we really do appreciate your support. Well, it sounds fantastic. I think it's going to really turn out great, and it's such a great subject and very important. Thank you. So good luck. Thank you very much for being here. Sarah Barbulesco, look for the film, Remember Isabel, even if you don't look up information. Maybe a year from now, this year, next year, when is this going to come out? Well, if we shoot on time this summer in 2014, as we anticipate, it'll probably be hitting the wherever it's going to be in wide release or in limited release or out on DVD around a year from then. So look for it in summer 2015. You can already look us up on IMDb, though, so you can check in there. Just type in Remember Isabel to IMDb.com, the Internet Movie Database, and you can check in and see how our casting process and everything's moving along. Great. Good luck with everything. Thank you so much for being here. Good luck with the film. Thank you for having me.